All right, so I'm going to be replacing my unit bearings now since I have the axle up on the stands already and it's easy to get to. I was going to go Timken, but I was trying to get something made in the USA, so I thought I would try SKF. It also is made in China, so go figure. But you only need two tools for this really. You need a pair of needle nose pliers to get this cotter pin out, and then you need a 36 millimeter socket to bust this nut off of here, and this nut's torqued down 175 foot-pounds. For me, the easiest way, especially on axle stands or these jack stands right now, is to simply put it in four-wheel drive and engage my air locker, and that keeps this from spinning. So when I go to break this nut loose, it's gonna stay put right where it's at. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the cotter pin out of there first. And you should replace cotter pins every time, so if you don't have a new one, make sure to not damage this one or break it, because then you won't have one. So this outer retaining nut retainer, be careful because behind it there's a little wave spring. And just remember the sequence of how this goes. Cotter pin, retainer, wave, spring, and then the nut itself. So there's the nut. Let me get my wrench here. We have to do this just to make it easier. There we go. So now I got that loose. I can spin that off. This comes right off. Okay, with that off, now I forgot to mention that you're going to need a 13 millimeter socket, 12 point for the three unit bearing bolts that go on the backside here. So get those out of there, and then you should be able to remove this unit bearing from the shaft. Now, if you've never done this in your Jeep, you're still running stock, everything on your Jeep, there's a very good chance that this might be seized or very difficult to get off because of corrosion issues that that weren't taken care of before. So that's one of the big reasons I always advocate everybody go through your axle assemblies like this. You don't have to do a full rebuild, but go through, pull your unit bearings out, get some anti-seize on the backside of them where they meet the knuckle, get these 12-point bolts broken loose while you're in the garage, because if you break a shaft or U-joint on the trail, it's a hell of a time to be trying to figure out how corroded and nasty these things actually get, and believe me, they do. Even with all this other stuff on their anti-seize and stuff, it's amazing at how much stuff will still sometimes just get filthy and a pain in the butt to remove. So again, 3 12 points on the back here. And you can't use, well, at least I could now, I suppose, since I don't have all my other stuff hooked up, but you don't want to use a deep well socket. You're probably not going to fit. It's going to be interesting to see if my unit bearing comes off easily or not. So part of the problem I have is I have Revolution chromo shafts and the U-joints right where it makes it tough to get these off because it'll sometimes bind up against it. Okay, so there we go. 3 bolts are out. Now this unit bearing should pop right off, maybe with a little bit of love. And you see how easy that pops off. Now I can tell you the reason that popped off so easy is because I was smart and I put anti-seize all over the backside of this. And look at this, you can still see the corrosion and stuff there that will get in there. So bearing sounds kind of hokey, that's why I'm changing them out. So now I'm gonna put on the new unit bearing, but before I do that, I'm gonna clean it up real quick. Give this a quick wipe down here. And then I'm going to apply anti-seize to the bearing itself where it meets the knuckle, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So the area you have to worry about getting stuck is that shiny part right there. That fits right inside the knuckle. That's what will get all corroded and eventually seize to your knuckle. And it's a pain in the butt to get that broken free. Sometimes it takes heat in order to get that thing broken free. So I'll put on my anti-seize, smear it around real good. And then I'll also smear just a little bit on this mating surface here too, because that's all part of the same thing that's going to be getting all that stuff on. Now you got to wipe all the excess off. You don't want a whole ton sitting there and have it affect your mating on that. I don't think it would by the time you get it torqued down, but no sense having a ton on there. You just need a little bit to keep everything from seizing up, and that's that. So with that being done, careful not to drop it and bust a lug or anything. Oops. One of the other things that doesn't hurt is to get your axle shaft right here. Just a really thin coating. It doesn't take a whole lot, and that'll keep that from seizing to the backside of the unit bearing as well. Right around that lip as well. There we go. All right. So now this will slide right back through. Engage your splines. Turn it back the way you need it. Line up your bearing the way you need it. And before I do anything else, I'm going to put these 12 points back in. Now I'm sure just like everything else that's cast, these unit bearings right, this part right here looks like it could take some pretty quick surface rust on it, just like a lot of stuff. Ball joints, same thing. These will rust in no time at all. So if you're gonna get paint on them, do it right after the fact. That's your best option. So I don't care about getting these torqued down to spec right now because I'm going to be pulling these back out later anyway, but I do want them snug. Obviously, if you're changing yours out and that's all you're doing, then you're going to want them more than snug. You want to get them to spec, which on this, they are 75 foot-pounds. For a TJ anyway. If you're running a JK or something else, it could be a little bit different. I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to look it up. Even regardless, unless I have certain things absolutely memorized, I always like looking at the specs again just to make sure that I'm where I need to be. Okay, so those 12 points are on. That is there. Now, we're going to put that axle retaining washer, or not retaining washer, but put the washer back on. I'm gonna get this nut started again. Or started, put on, you know what I meant. Get my torque wrench. Take it to 175. If you don't have torque wrench, then you know, do whatever you're going to do, I guess. But they do need to be snug, or tight, I should say. They need to be tight. There we go. And now the rest is just backwards procedure of what we did before. So we're gonna take our wave spring, put it inside our little thing here. Now, I can tell you that, let me get up close on this. This retainer thing, some of these are off compared to the others. So if you put it on one way, it may not line up the cotter pins. You need to pull it off and put it another way to get those lined up. So figure out where your cotter pin's gonna go. Take a look, see if everything gets through. And in this case, it does. I'm going to reinsert my cotter pin. Of course, you want to be a pain in the ass. I think I'll just go get a new one. This is going to be funny right here. There we go. So take that, get that in there, and then you're going to bend them back around again. And that's why you want to use a new one, because these will eventually, they'll break right off. That's all there is to it. New unit bearing, do the same thing to the other side, you're good to go.